there's failed many times, right? Because failure is really how you learn. Because why did you fail? You could really dig into it and figure things out.
Right. It's actually funny when people say like they're afraid of failure because it's like saying you're afraid of failure if you want to be successful. It's like saying like I'm like I want to bake a cake, but like I don't want to use eggs or like I don't want to use an oven. You know, it's it's something that's part of it. Like part of success is failure. Today we're gonna do things a little bit different. Have my good friend here, Blaise Venga.
Yes,
He's gonna be
sir.
asking me some questions. If you want, you can introduce yourself. So you know.
Sure. My name is Blaise. Me and Mauricio go way back. Probably, it's got to be 9 years now since I first went to him. I went to go do some customization on my car, and I know he was the guy to go to. So, long story short, we met through that. We did some business together after that, and we've just become friends throughout that. So now we're here.
Remember actually that story?
Oh, I remember the story, bro. It was I went to go get some emblems painted on my car, and the reason he specifically remembered me is because at the time I had a C63, and that was one of his favorite cars, and I didn't tip him. Because I was like 16, my sister drove me to get it done, and I literally I was young. I was like, I don't know if I'm supposed to tip guys, so I didn't tip him. And then like long down the road, after I got some more stuff done, he's like, "Yo, that first time you never tipped me." I was like, "Oh shit, my bad, bro." So I bought him lunch or something.
It wasn't just a no tipping. It was that I went like way beyond like what I was supposed to do. I think you went there for emblems, which I think I charged you like.
I think it was like $60.
Yeah, honestly. Not even probably.
Yeah,
it was like $50, right?
Yeah.
And then I remember like I liked the car so much that I washed it for you.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I remember that. That's true. I legit
washed it, and and then I think that I think it was like $55. It was like an odd number, and you didn't have change, and I didn't have change or something. And then I just remembered you for that. I'm like, this guy really wants his change right now, and
I was young. I was you know.
Nah, but it was just funny, you know, because then we became friends, and it's been like. You know, like you said, 9 years, which is crazy.
Yeah, man. I worked for you at one point. We worked together at one point. We sold pillows at one point.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother story.
Yeah, we'll save that for another day. But
yeah, true.
Yeah, basically, I just wanted to come on here and basically have you ask me some questions that can possibly benefit just people that, you know, with mindset or business or just life in general, you know.
Yeah. For sure.
So, yeah, just go ahead and you can ask me whatever questions, and I'll try to be as transparent as possible.
I think one of the things I always wondered, and I was always almost like jealous of the work ethic that you had, or proud, I should say, obviously as a friend. But, you know, you as an immigrant, obviously having to go to school and everything, and, you know, when you came here, it definitely wasn't easy for you to do certain things, right? Because there's certain, you know, it's just harder to do certain things. So for someone like you, basically, like you had to work and you always figured it out, and I always felt like you always did something that you loved, and nothing was gonna stop you, right? So I would say, like, for anyone out there listening, right? What was your mindset of just doing it, not being scared, just doing it. Even if you thought you would fail, you just did it. So like, what would you advise someone who's scared? I would say
that's a good question, man. Because like, you know, people, like you're saying, people see like what's on the other side, right? Like my work ethic, that it looks like I have no fear, and it looks like I just kind of just keep grinding. But the reality is, like, I was scared. You know what I mean? I was like borderline depressed when I found out. Like, you know, I was a kid growing up. I didn't know like what it was going to be like to have no papers and, you know, like not have a license, not have a social security number, that I can't have credit, I can't drive, I can't do anything basically, you know? So what people see is just what comes out after, which I feel like that in itself, like just adversity in general, like that's actually what started like my drive to, you know, I'm like, I felt beat down in the beginning, but then that's when like your mindset actually starts changing. It's either it changes or you just stay the same, and then you're just kind of like sad for yourself, you know? Like And for me, I had to make that choice, and you know, I chose just having no option but to, you know, try to succeed in life, which in the beginning, you know, I know you're saying that it always looked like I was having fun at what I was doing, and I always try, you know, no matter what I'm doing. If I'm picking up garbage, you know, like I try to have fun doing it, because why not?
Yep.
And that's kind of been my mindset, like especially lately as I like get older. But yeah, I think that it's really about making that choice, to be honest. Like once you have adversity, is the beginning, like the first step is just taking that choice to change your mindset. You know what I mean? And then once you choose that, you just stick with it, you know. And I always talk about this, like your purpose, you know. Sometimes people need this purpose or this big goal picture that it's like is gonna help you just make that decision, you know. Like for example, like I want to help my family, you know. So knowing that I want to help my family, I can't help my family if I don't even know how to help myself. Exactly. You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, for me it was just a choice, you know, like try to find a purpose, and it always changes, you know. I mean, I don't have like my purpose wasn't the same when I was 21 than what it is now, but yeah, I think that's pretty much it for me, man. It's like, you know, the mindset, make a decision, and then just, man, I choose nothing else, you know. And every day is just I'm gonna just work towards what I want, which I know is, you know, like help more people. Yeah. And to do that, you know, in my case, I just chose business. Like, you know, I have fun building businesses. It's just something that's just kind of in me. I can't get it out of me, you know. For sure. Yeah.
No, I definitely see that, because you kind of had you had the mentality ever since I met you of it's either sink or swim. Where I feel like a lot of people just learned that this past few years with COVID and everything, right? Where you had the decision to either like do something or just sit back and do the bare minimum. Because you could still get by at the bare minimum during that time. So a lot of people, you know, lost their businesses, lost this, that, and that. But that sink or swim mentality, I think a lot of people developed that over the past 2 years. But for you, it was, ever since I met you, it was sink or swim. Everything was on the line for you because I know how important family was to you. And at the end of the day, I think your biggest goal was to always just help your family, right?
Yeah, and now it's become bigger where, like, it's not just even my family. Like, I want to help just people in general, you know, like, just kind of take that step to just do something they like, not necessarily business, you know. And even with COVID, I feel like, you know, a lot of people always talk about having a plan, right? Like, and I'm kind of, I guess, I'm not big on having a plan, but, you know, it's always good advice to have a plan.
Structure is something, yeah.
But COVID will teach you that, like, or things that like that will teach you that sometimes, you know, having a plan is not the most important thing, because things are going to happen where are going to just destroy that plan. So what I always say is, like, you got to change that mindset to be adaptable. You know what I mean? Because if you're adaptable, if you know how to pivot, I mean, those are the people that survived, you know, in business with COVID, because things happen and they just destroy your plans. And then what you got to do at that point is know how to adapt, know how to pivot your business, your life, your relationships in general. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of things were destroyed because of that. So whoever knows how to adapt, and you know, I feel like that's a big help, to have that mentality that, like, you know, like, you need to be ready for the unknown and just always be ready to adapt. Like, you can't just be like, you know, I'm gonna stick to this plan. Yeah. Because you're always gonna, you know, that plan is always gonna change at some point, no matter what. You know.
For sure. Yeah. I completely agree. And I would say, to go into the next thing based off of that is a question I ask a lot of people who are business owners and who own their own businesses and stuff like that, is how do you truly define business success? Because a lot of people are all about the numbers, and they're like, oh, I define my business successful because I made $1 million. But, you know, a lot of people that are just starting, the biggest fear is probably like, okay, like, I don't have a paycheck, right? Right. I don't have a salary. There's no cushion for me to fall onto. So, like, how do I get to that success level of business? Is it freedom? Is it influencing others, or is it just let me make a few $1 million and go buy a McLaren or something? You know?
Well, I mean, I think that really depends, and I figured that out now that, like, you know, as I'm getting older and just more experienced in life and business, you know, that I feel like it's not, I mean, if you want to look at it as numbers, you know, of course, I'm a numbers person, actually. So, like, of course, you know, if you're profitable in a business and you can pay your employees, pay your bills, and pay yourself, that's great, you know. But I just believe there's a greater purpose. So I think that it really depends, you know, on your situation. Like, for example, if you have kids, you have a family, and you have rent, you have mortgage, I wouldn't tell somebody like, like just do whatever you like and just, even if you don't make money, because then you're not going to be able to live. And that's just the reality of it, you know?
True.
So, in that case, I think it really depends. It's like, it's kind of like a personal, opinion, I guess, on what defines like business success. But what I always suggest, that's why, when I speak and when I talk about these things, like I always, like my hope is always to reach like a younger generation, because they just don't know that like, that's the perfect time to just take more risks, because you're living at home, you don't have bills, so you could take the biggest risks that can actually, especially nowadays, with every so many ways to make money, that you know what I mean, like it could be worth it. Whereas as you get older, like you can't take as many risks, and that's just reality. You know what I mean? So I think. Yeah, that's really the thing for me. I mean, but I do think it's personal, and it really varies. Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. I think I would say like most of the people that I talk to who haven't started their own business but want to are a lot of the people that they have the typical job, whether it's going to an office or working for someone else, whatever, and they're just so scared to take that leap because to them it only goes back to numbers, right?
Right.
Because obviously, if you see a set number coming in every month, you know what you could afford, whatever, but they're not happy, right? So a lot of people are just scared to take that leap to happiness, essentially, because they're scared of making money,
And the best advice for those kind of people is, if you really feel like you're stuck somewhere, I mean, figure out, you got to sit down and actually do the numbers, because if you have to survive, you do the numbers. And what's it gonna take for me to survive every month and pay my bills? And like have nothing. Don't go out. If it really means that much to you to be happy, because I mean it should.
Yeah.
Figure it out, and then start something on the side and decide of what you want to do that's going to be fun, and make that decision to like grow that. But it's still hard work. Like everything is hard work.
Of course.
But at the end, it's worth it. And people, I feel like, just get really comfortable.
Yeah.
And then you realize years down the road that. Like you're in a place where like you don't want to be, and I feel like that's the one thing that I don't want to live with. Like I don't want to live with like regret.
True.
You're always gonna have some sort of regrets, but I want to just know that like I tried pretty much everything.
Yeah, and a lot of people need to use their resources too. Like past 2 years, we had so much time at home, right? You could have YouTubed anything you were interested in. Yeah. Like you said on your last podcast, Etsy. Like people could have looked up anything, really started any business from home, making headbands or making mask connectors, something like that. Like there were so many opportunities, but I feel like a lot of people didn't take advantage of like time, because at the end of the day, time is the most important. We have a limited amount of time, right?
Yeah, you can't.
So what you do with your time is very important. Yep. So I personally feel like, for anyone watching, like use your time and make it valuable, whether it's going on YouTube and learning more about what you like, sneakers, clothes, whatever. Anything can be made a business. Anything has been made a business in the past. Yeah. These microphones, someone's making money off of that. YouTube, someone's gonna make money off of this probably. Who knows? So
hopefully,
there's business opportunities everywhere. So, the next thing I want to talk about too is like something that I personally realized is very important, and I think it's something that you implement very well is how you treat your employees. Because as a business owner, obviously, you're looking out for yourself, but you also have a team below you that is helping you essentially.
Right.
And I think it's very important to have a good work space and vibe, and to invest in the correct people to help you build to the next level, right? Because there's only one Mauricio, unfortunately. If there was 10 Mauricios, this world would be a better place.
Maybe it's fortunate there's only one Mauricio.
True, maybe. But do you agree though that like employees are huge and you need to treat them like invest in them, I should say,
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, I keep learning. Like when I had to, like, for example, like fire my first employee, like it wasn't easy for me. I had to like actually learn how to be a boss. I thought being a boss was just telling people what to do. Yeah. Because I started when I had employees for the first time. I was what, 19, 20. So like I had no idea, but like. As I evolved just in business, like I realized, even for myself, like even for my benefit, even if I was selfish, the smart thing to do is to treat my employees the right way. True. Because then that's going to reflect on their work ethic and their loyalty and so many things that are just important for the business anyway.
Correct.
So if I'm not doing that, number one, that's just a bad business decision, right?
Yeah.
On its own. But for me, it definitely is more than that. Like, I feel like I just have like a lot of empathy towards people. And I mean, I'm still learning, like, to be a better boss and to create like better like company culture,
100%.
which is something that I literally strive for like every day, but it is hard. So I'm trying. I'm still trying. And I feel like I'll try to figure that part out. And get it better and better, and kind as the years go on, and as the businesses grow and everything. But I think it's super important. Company culture is like top things for me, and because it creates the environment for my employees, creates the environment for customers walking in. It creates a better environment for myself as well. And if you think about it, like when you're at work, like it's literally like you're either at home or at work or sleeping, and it's like almost like a third of your day. So
correct.
You really want to spend like a third of your life in a miserable place, especially if you're the one controlling it. It just makes no sense. You know what I mean? So, company culture, like treating employees right. I mean, that's always, and not just employees right, but I'm all about like actually talking to each person and knowing what it is that drives them, because everybody's different. Somebody might want a pay increase, and that's like their biggest thing, because they have a family and they have bills, and that would just create a better environment for them, and then somebody else, where like if you hire somebody younger at 17 or whatever, it's totally different, like they might just want like some exposure with your business, and they're okay with that. They don't really care about the salary. Some other people just want a flexible schedule, like because they want to travel so to me, it's about like talking to people and finding out what it is that drives them, and kind of use that, to create a better company culture, and that just creates a better business, and it just makes everything better.
100%. I definitely relate to that. And even in the past, when I was younger and worked for you, we were grinding back then, and it was always a good work experience. I never really I always felt like you were a friend instead of a boss, which obviously there should be a fine line, but.
But that's good. I mean, I could live with that. You know what I'm saying? As long as I'm okay with that, I feel like that's fine. There's people that don't like that. Me, I like that. I want my business to be like that.
Yeah, it's the only way to grow.
Yeah,
it really is the only way to grow.
Especially, like I said, to me, that's just the best way, and it works for me.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I guess it doesn't work, but like I said, you got to be able to adapt. So
true.
Yeah.
All right, so to go to the next topic, I think this is probably the most important topic, and probably the toughest thing, right, for people to learn about is, I'm sure a bunch of people out there have fantastic ideas and they want to do something with those ideas. They don't have money, right? They have minimal capital to start something, or they don't have a space, whatever the case may be, right? So what would you say to those people that, they might only have like, let's say a few $1,000s or $1,000 or maybe less, but they want to start this business, right? Because it's a lot different than when you started a business 10 years ago. Because back then, I feel like there wasn't that many ways to borrow money from either a bank or a friend or whatever the case may be. So what would you like your advice be to someone?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. I mean,
it's a hard question.
Yeah, it is a hard question, right? But I like it because it's like, for me, I always say this. I have even posters and canvases all over my office where I say execution is greater than the idea, right? So the execution, to me, like how you execute a plan or an idea is just way more important than the idea itself, right? Sure. Where like anybody could come up with an idea. We could come up with 20 ideas right here, but it's about who knows how to execute that idea.
Yeah.
Right. And you're right. I mean, now things are completely different than they were.
Extremely, yeah.
Like 10, 20 years ago.
Yep.
Social media has made it different. The internet in general, there's just like an overflow of information, like an overload of information. So I would say, number one, definitely use all the resources. I mean, it's really as easy sometimes as like going on Google and type it in, how do I get funding? You know what I'm saying? Like, and you could get funding from so many places, but it's something that people don't even think about sometimes, So number one, definitely use all your resources, which again, if you don't have that much money, for example, as opposed to, I would advise somebody that has money to go on Facebook and do ads, and pay for their ads, go on YouTube. I would tell somebody, it might take you a little longer, but you could do organic. Start a TikTok, start
Yeah. It's all free.
a
Free
Facebook and
marketing,
Instagram, Snapchat. Yeah, and now they're pumping. These big companies are pumping even more money for content creators to dump more content into their platforms to get more attention for them to make more money.
Yep.
So there's just so much going on that it really does become like a question of like how dedicated and do you want to be, and make that decision back to the mindset again. That's really what it is.
True. Yeah, I mean, you're right. There is a lot of opportunities out there, and even if it's as scary as it sounds, even if it's opening up a credit card and maxing it out, but at least like that's some capital that you can start with, right?
That's a resource, I mean, and you're gonna have to work harder than somebody that does have the money.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
for sure.
That should be obvious, but like it's gonna be hard work to create, to start getting business like organically on TikTok. But it's possible.
Yeah,
you know
100%.
what I mean? Like you can't just be like, oh, I tried TikTok, and then when I ask you like, oh, how many times did you post? And it's like, oh, I posted 5 times.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, like you gotta post. If you really want this, post 10 times a day, 50 times a day. Like, and it might sound crazy, but that's just the way it is. If you really want it that bad, you know what I mean? Which you should, if that's
that's your goals. Yeah,
if that's your goal, you should. If not, then just don't. I always just say you can't really complain about something that you're not putting in the work for. You know what I mean? That's really So just resources for me is big. Use resources and execute. Execution is key, man. How you execute on a plan is everything. And consistency.
Yeah.
So
we live in a different time, man.
Yeah.
It's free marketing everywhere.
Yep.
All these social media apps have changed. Product selling have changed. Businesses, one viral TikTok might generate $100,000 in sales for one product.
Yeah,
that could be a dumb product, but it don't matter.
Yeah,
it's what people see.
Yeah.
So it's just a different time for sure.
I agree.
What's next for you, right? Because I know from knowing you for, like I said, like 9-ish years, you've come out with and basically been successful every single time, and I applaud you for that. But we've had different products, all different ideas. So, what's next, or what's in the works, or would you want to save that for a separate episode?
What's in the works? Yeah, I can't. There's a few projects actually that I'm working on right now.
Tell me off camera, but all right,
yeah. But no, yeah, I'm not ready to share those projects. But I mean, what's next in general is just same thing, but bigger. For me, it's just bigger goals, bigger businesses, just bigger everything. And then with bigger goals and bigger businesses, bigger responsibilities, bigger problems. But I'm ready for all that. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm ready for the failures. I'm actually like I like failing. Even though people say that like I've been like even you like. You say, I've been successful a lot of my businesses. There's people that don't even know some of the businesses that I started that like I wasn't successful at,
Yeah.
But I always learn, So as long as I'm learning, like, to me it's not a failure. It's just another lesson, to be honest.
It's always a lesson, even if you fail. There's failed many times, right? Because failure is really how you learn. Because why did you fail? You could really dig into it and figure things out.
Right. It's actually funny when people say like they're afraid of failure, because it's like saying you're afraid of failure if you want to be successful. It's like saying like I want to bake a cake, but like I don't want to use eggs, or like I don't want to use an oven. It's it's something that's part of it. Like part of success is failure. So if you don't have failure, you're not gonna have success. It's just part of it. If you ask any successful person, and I always say quote unquote successful, because to everybody success looks different. But if you ask any successful person, they're going to tell you they failed at some point.
Yeah.
Impossible that there's a successful person
who hasn't failed.
Never heard it, that hasn't failed. So it's part of it. Mm-hmm. And if it's part of it, you might as well embrace it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Completely agree with that. Failure is, everything is a learning lesson, whether it's good or bad, honestly.
Yep.
And people need to take the positives out of any situation. If, whatever happens to you, there's always a positive to take out of it, to learn.
Yep.
To build off of, Yeah. So to get into discussion, because I've asked actually a lot of people about this, and it might not relate to your business directly.
Okay.
Definitely relates to my business a little bit, and it relates to a lot of other people's businesses that I know. Where do you see business within the next couple of years? And the basis of this question is, a lot of it has been transferred over to, you know, Zoom calls and online calls and stuff like that. But I also know that, I mean, way obviously before that, it was all face-to-face business.
Right.
Me personally, I feel like we need to go back to face-to-face business, and it might be me not opening enough to this whole online thing and the metaverse and all this stuff and doing office meetings and with my Oculuses on or whatever the case may be. But for me, face-to-face interaction and face-to-face business is always better because there's some things you can't express over a camera, you know, whether it's an action or a feeling or whatever the case may be, right? So it might not relate to your business, like I said, but how do you feel about like face-to-face versus online interaction in business?
No, I mean, it's always going to relate to part of my business, I guess, right? And I'm kind of like you in that sense. I mean, if anything, I'm even more old school. Like, I like in-person meetings. You know what I'm saying? I don't like no Zoom stuff. But the reality is there's one thing that we could talk about what I like. And there's another thing of what's good for business. You know?
For sure.
Where the world is going, and there's just no doubt about it, is digital.
Yeah,
you know,
100%.
When you have a company like Facebook dumping $10 billion to create this, not create the metaverse because it already exists.
It exists,
but just kind of enhance it and make it more immersive and make it actually like functional. Like, I think people are not really understanding where this is going. You know, and I feel like I just started when I start putting some pieces together of what it could be. Yeah, I mean, you could be against it, you could be for it, but the truth is that it doesn't matter your opinion. I'm sorry, not yours, it's mine.
No, 100%.
Everybody's.
Everyone's. Yeah.
What matters is what the billionaires in this world are doing and where they're taking the world. So I talked about this a little bit before. Like, people sometimes, you know, even me, like when somebody told me about Snapchat back in the days, I was like, oh, what is that? You know, people send you a picture and it disappears. I'm like, and they're like, oh, it's a college thing, you know, and it's like, all right, well, I'm probably never going to download that. You know, I'm not in college. But then what? I downloaded Snapchat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Then, you know, you got parents and grandmas, you know, that they're like, oh, well, what's Facebook? And then look at that. Now they're the biggest ones on Facebook, you know, all the older generations.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely older
big
generation.
On Facebook, you know?
For sure.
So you're talking about like, that's kind of where we're shifting over to now, and people are really like almost like in denial of like what's happening. So I just feel like that's where we're going. I feel like that's just where we're heading. So it's my biggest takeaway or my biggest advice is always just educate yourself on it because there's opportunities, and I'm just not just talking about, for example, like buying an NFT. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying, yo, just go buy one. I mean, I have NFTs, but I wouldn't just tell somebody, yo, you have to buy one. And that's kind of the culture now. It's like, yo, you have to do this.
It should be education always, bro.
It should be like, listen, look into it because I don't think that you're understanding what an NFT is. You know, I have like a vision for like what NFTs will be in the metaverse. I mean, I think it's going to be huge, man. And whether you like it or not, or anybody likes it.
It's going to happen. It's inevitable.
It's going to happen. It's going to be immersive, and it's actually going to be good. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, we don't like Zoom meetings, like, let's say personally, but at the end of the day, they're great because you can have
easier to do business.
I mean, if you can't actually hold a meeting together, at least, you know, you can have a business meeting. Source now. Yeah.
And people take it seriously. I feel like before this, like, people were like, oh, why are we video chatting? Like, just come see me, right? Now it's like, let's video chat. It's just easier, right?
It's faster. It's easier. And then when you take all that, and then you add what Facebook and all these big companies are doing, which is just making it more immersive, it's going to be just a whole different world, literally, you know, and our attention is just going to go to that no matter what, because that's just how, you know, the world that we live in, you know?
Very true. That is very true. Yeah.
So I'm thinking business is going to be it's going to play a huge part.
Yeah. I'm like so 50-50 on it because like, although I'm younger, but like, you know, I'm just old school at heart. Like, I'm always like face to face, you know, this and that. But you're right. It opens up more business opportunities, honestly, that Zoom is a thing. Because if you have a business opportunity in Los Angeles, you don't have to fly there now and do a meeting. Everyone is okay with Zoom now. Yeah. It's just natural, right? Because people have to do it for a year or two, whatever the case may be. So it's definitely a new way of the world. But I always ask everyone that because I like to hear different opinions on it, you know? Yeah.
I mean, I think there's still a longer play as to, like, for example, like the metaverse and how we're going to be, like, using that and implementing into work, you know? Yeah. But I think it's happening. Like, it's going to happen whether
it's starting, like for sure, not. It's definitely rolling that way.
And when you're like just an early adopter, I feel like you just reap the benefits, you know. So that's just where anything else, you know. Like if you had Bitcoin in 2005, like you know what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
right now, you would be a millionaire.
You know what you're doing, yeah.
Yeah. So, but you have to take a leap of faith in the beginning, you know, and it's something new, you know. And people don't like change, especially when it's super new. But the thing is that once so many other people start having it, like if all your friends have Snapchat, all your friends have Instagram,
Follow the trend.
yeah, you're just gonna follow it, right?
Follow the trend,
So
that's
that's pretty much where I think it's going, and I think it's gonna be huge actually in the business world. I think people are thinking about it as like games, and you know you're gonna have to put some glasses and just play some games.
Nah, it's not. Yeah, I know.
I think you know like you can have a meeting and look to your left. I mean that's how it's going. It's going to be, you know, and then you can actually see the people next to you, and then take the glasses off, and you're at home.
Yeah.
But when you put them on, you're at an actual building.
You feel it.
Yeah, and it's
feel
it's
it.
a little bit more immersive, and it just kind of makes more sense for big companies.
Yeah.
So like I said, once the big companies do it, you know, like everybody just kind of follows that. So I feel like it's gonna be huge. It's gonna be
Very
huge
true.
for business. Yep.
Yeah, and it's important, like you said, to educate yourself. Because like for me, example, right? I have zero clue about NFTs, right? I'm very interested in it, and I could impulsively buy a
Right.
random pet picture, right?
Yeah.
But I want to educate myself. I want to learn about this first, and you know, it's kind of a hit or miss situation. It seems like, you know, where obviously some things are just taken off, where other things aren't, whatever the case may be. But still, if you educate yourself and you learn about it, at least you could probably make a better decision than not knowing about it.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that's kind of with anything in the world, whatever you invest in, right?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, the NFT is it's an investment. There's 15-year-old kids making hundreds of thousands of dollars trading art now.
Yep.
Just it's just a new thing.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
you know, you just have to educate yourself on whatever you may invest in, whether it's
Right.
vehicles, clothes, sneakers, like I said before, watches, whatever the case may be.
Yeah,
There's
and sometimes
a lot of opportunity.
And sometimes even if you educate yourself a lot too, like you know, it comes to a point where like you gotta take a leap of faith if you want to. You know,
Yeah.
like, only risk what you're willing to lose. But like you know, nobody knew Bitcoin was gonna be so big. You know,
Yeah.
nobody knew NFTs were gonna be so huge so fast. But if you took some risks, you know, or if you see it, but at least like you said, like just make an educated decision. You know,
Yeah.
like okay, like I'll take the risk because now I understand what it is.
Yeah.
You know, once I started looking into NFTs and just the technology behind it, I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'm still not gonna buy certain things, you know, just because it's a picture and whatever. But
And it's expensive.
yeah, but it's like I started looking more into it, and just NFTs in general, like
Yeah.
they interest me a lot because I feel like it was just introduced as pictures, but I think like the actual technology and how it works, and how they're using the blockchain is just gonna like transfer to so many other different things.
True.
Where NFTs are not just gonna be known as pictures. You know what I'm
Very
saying?
true.
Like it's just actually a digital contract. So
Yeah.
and we could use that for so many different like fields, and it's a type of contract that it actually benefits the creator. You know what I mean? Like you get royalties on it, which again that's huge because you know with other things like the creator doesn't get the royalties. You know, it's a company that launches something. You know,
Correct.
I mean, we could talk about this all
Yeah,
day.
yeah,
But
yeah.
the point is that like, you know, once I started figuring out what it actually is, I'm very big on it. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I'm bullish on it for sure.
This kind of I don't want to talk about it, but this kind of rolls into what I want to talk about next is honestly it is school because, right, like for example, artists are very creative people,
Right.
and some of them felt like they had to go to college to learn more about it, right? Because there's not that many outlets to sell your art on, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
So now you have this, and you can make crazy amounts expressing yourself. But other than art itself, it's just there's a lot of younger kids educating themselves on this stuff
Right.
that are making serious money. And I almost feel like in 5 to 10 years, the admissions to colleges or to school in general is going to drop drastically because all these young kids are learning, hey, like I could just educate myself on this off of YouTube.
Yep.
And I can make enough money to not have to like work or go to college and spend that money, right? And I think that's kind of a big thing because even like you have massive companies coming out saying, hey, like, you know what, we don't care for a college degree anymore. We care about the value of a person. You come here, we're going to teach you our ways, you learn our ways, and that's more important to us than a degree.
Yep.
So, I mean, I know for a fact because we've had this conversation that we are basically aligned on the whole college thing. I think it's very important for the people that need it, and there's certain people that definitely need it. I don't want a doctor doing surgery on me if he didn't go to school for it. That's just weird. But, you know, like, I think a lot more people are starting to trust themselves more instead of, you know, at the end of the day, throwing money at a business, aka college, right?
Yeah.
So, how do you feel about that? Like the younger generation in the future, like 5-10 years, right? Because there's a lot more opportunity than there was 10 years ago. I feel like you almost needed college 10-20 years ago, right?
Yeah, it was definitely. I feel like it was different because, like I said, there wasn't that much like information available, and to me, like, I don't even know any other way to say it, but that like college in this day, like, it just doesn't make any sense.
It's very optional now.
Right.
It's very optional.
I mean, like you said, if you want to be a doctor, I always say, if you want to be a doctor, engineer,
please
nurse,
go to college.
I mean, not even please. It's just you have to, you know?
Correct.
If
you have to.
If you don't go to college, you just can't become a doctor.
Correct.
Now, would I trust a doctor that just came out of college? No. You know what I mean? Like, the doctor still has to practice.
Yeah.
That's why it takes even so many years to become a doctor. But yeah, now, man, for the younger generation, I mean, I'm kind of jealous, man. Like, you know, it's a great time to be part of that generation where, like, you could make money sitting down and just, go on YouTube and flip some NFTs and, you know, like, and I feel like since they're getting introduced to that, it's a lot easier because they don't know anything else, where it's harder for somebody that's a little older to get into it just because of the fact that in your head, like, you're stuck with, like, school is the way, I gotta get this job, and it's like, that's all that exists to you. Yeah. But once you open up, you know, like, and you see what's out there, you realize that that's not all that exists, and it's just kind of like what exists in your head, you know. And for kids or like just younger people, it's like, you know, they literally have just such like so much information and just so many opportunities, and they actually see it that they just go for, you know. I guess it's kind of like I don't know, it's kind of like a younger generation thing too, where it's like you're a little bit more lazy. True. But it's a good thing nowadays because the fact that you're lazy makes you want to make money easier. Exactly. You want to do less. You can. You want to do less. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it kind of sucks for the people that are older and they're like, oh, I'm working my ass off to like do all this. Yeah. And I don't, you know, and I didn't make. And there's this kid making, you know, 200,000. That's what I'm saying. 14 years old. It's crazy. So it's like, but it's just about, you know, the vision, just like, you know, seeing what's out there and actually like not being closed-minded, you know what I mean? Because if you stay closed-minded, you're never going to really like see what's out there and all the different opportunities and options you have. That's it, man. And a lot of it is fear because, you know, it's especially now more than ever, it's tough to make means, minimal means, you know? So a lot of people just, you know, they feel like they have no choice. They got to do it by the book, and that works for them. And it definitely works for some people, and people are happy that way and comfortable, but it's not the only way, right? And I think a lot more people are realizing it's not the only way. Yeah. Because, you know, even when I was about to go to college and everything, if I didn't do enough research on what else was out there and how else I could make money and all those things, like, you have to go to college. It's the only way you're going to make money. That's it. That's just true. But now, especially now, like you said, I am jealous, right? Because 16-year-old kids have so many options now to just do stuff. Yeah. And whether it's their parents giving them the starting money or if it's them getting a job for whatever, minimum wage, using that money to do this, you know? You could work at McDonald's or Wendy's, save smart, just save. That's all you have to do for a year or two. You could flip that. Like, it's there's just so many ways. I can't even touch on that too much. You do whatever the hell you want nowadays. And it'll probably work out. And even if you don't, you fail and you figure out another way to work it out. That's it. Yeah. So sure. It's the way of the world. Definitely the way of the world. Yep. I got a few notes here. Let's see. Well, the one word I saw on there was sacrifice, right? And that stuck out to me the most because, you know, sacrifices have to be made, whether it's friendships, whether it's people in your life, whether it's
whether it's money, whether it's, you bought a shiny car, but now you have to sell it to generate your business or whatever the case may be.
Right.
So, sacrifices are something that's very scary.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to lose something. You don't want to lose this thing that you bought, because people might say like, oh, look, he's failing, right?
Right.
Or even in friendships, like, you might just have to step away from a person or a friend group because they're weighing you down. But you have to sacrifice that joy to help yourself sometimes. So I'm sure you've had to make sacrifices along the way, right?
Yeah. Sure.
If someone was 50-50 about making a sacrifice, what would you say to them? If they were like on the fence, like, should I do this, should I not do it? How's it going to affect me? Blah, blah, blah.
The question is just like, are you going to be able to live if you don't make those sacrifices?
Yeah.
Like, are you okay with like not doing anything and keeping your life the way it is, and then you think that you'll have no regrets with that? If the answer is yes, then yeah, I mean, you don't have to sacrifice. Don't sacrifice it. But if the answer is like, no, I'm gonna live with regret, and then this is not what I want to do, like, you have to just know that you need to make sacrifices. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, I've sacrificed my body, my sleep, relationships, my family, like, a lot. But I do know, and I kind of have to believe that there's still a bigger goal, right?
Always.
And could I be wrong? I mean, I could, right? I mean, we could all be wrong.
It's a risk, but
I just know that I was put on this earth to do, something a little different.
Yep.
And the reason I know that is because no matter what, like, my mind just works different, and it's worked like that since as far as I can remember. And even when like COVID hit, and everybody's home, and we were kind of forced to be home. It's like
I had no choice. Yeah.
I was almost like obsessed and like addicted to just learn about, okay, now I'm home, so how do I even make money at home?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And yeah, I just started like educating myself with like, more about e-commerce, even though I've been doing e-commerce for years. But
still, there's so much to learn.
Yeah, and then stocks, and not just stocks, because I was doing stocks before that, but I started learning about stock options to leverage, even more, just leverage money in the market. So, yeah, just knowing all that, and like knowing that like that's just in me, like, that's just for me. That
True, man.
That's just me. Yeah.
That goes back to the beginning of the conversation: sink or swim, right?
Yep.
You were stuck at home, and there was kind of no other option. Well, you definitely bored, but there was no other option. But how do I make money? What can I do to make more money? Whatever the case may be.
Yeah, and in that case, I actually did have an option, because I was living okay, and like I had savings and stuff. But that's just not who I am.
It's not.
You know what I mean? So can I lay down and watch TV for a whole week, 2 weeks? Yeah, sure. But I can't live myself like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If somebody could, then that's fine. Like, if what actually makes you happy is sitting at home and like watching TV, I think that's cool. But like, actually good for them, because like the stuff that I have to do, like I said, it's a lot of sacrifices. But there's just so many opportunities out there that if you don't at least explore some of them, like, you can't just say, oh, I don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
If you haven't tried anything either, what I mean? Like, you could just be so much happier trying different things,
Yeah, people don't realize all the sacrifices and failure that comes along the way to be successful, because especially social media nowadays, no one posts bad things. They only post good things. You know what I mean?
Exactly,
no one wants to expose themselves.
Right.
They want to show the world, hey, I'm doing well. Here's this. Sign up to my course. But you get what I'm saying. Like, social media definitely, everyone wants to be portrayed as successful. And people need to understand that, like, there's a lot of road bumps along the way, right? You're going to hit them regardless. You're going to have to make some life decisions, honestly, in some situations. But there's always a bigger goal. And you have to always not forget what is in sight and what your end goal is.
Yeah,
and that's something I should say to the people, that like, you should always have an idea of what you truly are working towards, like an end goal.
Yeah.
And everything else before that should be, how do I get to that end goal? Whether it's, I want to own 100 apartments and I want to own a bunch of real estate in 5 years, or I want to retire my parents in 5 years, whatever the case may be, have an end goal, and then every day get one step closer to that end goal.
Yeah.
No matter what you do.
Yep.
I think
Absolutely.
it's good advice for anyone. That's advice I have. For me, it's personally real estate.
Yeah,
I think the whole real estate thing is crazy, and people have been making money off of it for the past 1900 years or whatever the case may be. So
yeah, I mean, every market's crazy right now. I mean, the car market's crazy.
True.
The freaking watch market is crazy. You
True.
know what I mean?
Very
like,
true.
Real estate market.
Yeah.
The house market is crazy.
That's
Maybe the only thing that I saw like going down is like business, like commercial real estate. I think it's not really like
well, because people don't need space anymore.
exactly. People are shifting to actually something different, which is like, if anything, digital, commercial digital real estate. I guess you could say
Yeah,
is probably
true.
more common, than regular real estate.
True.
Right now.
It sounds so weird.
Yeah.
That like people might have to buy an office building in the metaverse, right?
Yeah, and I hear actually it's crazy because I hear like a lot of real estate agents like being like against that or like saying, oh, how can you buy something that has no value?
Because they're scared.
Right.
But learn.
It's not even scared. It's
Learn about it
like,
instead,
like I said,
right?
being close-minded because, like, just because you don't agree with it doesn't mean that somebody's not buying something for $2 million.
Exactly.
Doesn't mean that Verizon is not going to come out and just, like, buy a building for, like, $5 million just to have every employee in the country inside his digital building.
True.
You know what I mean? Like, and I actually think that's where it's going. So, yeah, man, it's just about not being closed-minded, honestly. You got to just, keep an open mind.
True that.
Yeah.
True that, man. Yeah, there's too many closed-minded people. And I think it was just the way of the world for forever that, it's just what we were taught growing up, But now, like I said, I feel like kind of before COVID, it was like a couple years before where there was a lot more opportunity and learning experience for people to learn about how to make more. And it just stinks, man, that like throughout middle school or high school, there's not one class that teaches you about anything monetary, financials, taxes.
I didn't know how to write my first check. When I had my first business, I wrote a check. I think I put the amount and the date, and then my landlord like looked at the check and like, and he was like, Are you gonna finish? Are you gonna finish? And I'm like, what else should I do? It's like, well, you gotta sign, you gotta write this. I'm like, I'm sorry, I didn't know. It's the first check I write.
It's crazy.
They don't even teach you that. They don't. Yeah, I'm telling you, I think the school system is just failing people every day. I mean,
yeah, and it even goes before college because, like I said, man, like high school is when you go from teen to adult. It's a very important time for people, right? Yeah. How could you not have one class? I'm learning about Egypt pyramids built 500 years ago, but you can't tell me how to write a check. You can't tell me how to open up an LLC. Right. You can't tell me about taxes or this, and that, And maybe it's too early to teach some of those people, but it's just simple life lessons that we learn by either two ways. We have to Google it to learn, or our parents just teach us it because, right? But it's so simple. Just add a class, right? Like it's crazy, man. It's crazy.
Yeah. I don't know when it will change, but I mean, I actually think that, like I said, with so much information now, like the school system has to eventually change because if not, I just think that something else, like, I don't know, it's weird to even say it, but like, because you can't really like eliminate, a school system.
Yeah, like middle school and high school, like stuff like that.
You can't really eliminate that, but as far as college goes, I mean,
because that's straight business.
It's
college.
a business, so if it's a business, they got to figure out a way to still get money in, and attract more customers, which is students. So, and it's gonna be a challenge as like people can just go on YouTube and learn something, in like 2 days that takes you,
it's very true,
a couple years in college. So yeah, man, I think it's gonna change. Schooling online, like.
It's a big difference,
yeah, but it's also it's kind of pointless, like you're sitting on a Zoom call, listening to your professor when like I said, I mean, you could watch probably a YouTube video and get the whole entire education in like a matter of 2 days when it takes a whole semester. Yeah. So if they don't change, if school doesn't change, I really don't know what's gonna happen,
Very true. Yeah, it's crazy that literally everything we talked about today kind of just goes back to learning. Because if you're not gonna get taught it, there's only one way to do it.
Yeah, man.
Just learn.
And it's sad. It's sad that when somebody says like education, like the first thing you think about is like school and college. Yeah. Like when education, I feel like it's so far from like the best kind of education, it's actually like far from that, you know. You go to college, in my opinion, like, and I only went to college for a few semesters, but
Yeah.
you know, you go to college for not really for learning, you know, it's for like an experience, you know. In school, before college, I think you go more for the structure than learning, you know. I mean, there's not much that you really learn to take into your life from like, you know, anything before college. And from college, there's just so much waste of time and waste of money that I just feel like it doesn't make it worth, you know, like whatever you're paying and whatever time you're putting in. So
yeah,
man,
it's crazy. Like for me personally, like I've learned on a 20-minute YouTube video or even a minute TikTok reel, whatever the case may be. I've learned like how to start an Airbnb business off of just watching a video, right? Like, because it's really not that hard. It sounds extremely hard because again, everyone's concerned about money. I need a lot of money. When in reality, you don't need a lot of money. Like, there's a lot of other ways to do it. So just watch a 15, 20-minute video and it'll go a long way. Because, you know, Airbnb especially has changed business for landlords too, because like some people are just like happy with their regular rent and they're renting out to Airbnb owners who are then renting out to more people, and it's just a chain. But everyone's making money along the way, and everyone's happy. Like, you know. So just learn. Like, it's not impossible. Nothing is impossible, and just don't ever say I can't, because there's a way for everything. You know, you might have to have people trust you more, but again, that comes back to your character. And if you prove to them that they could trust you, whether it's a bank or a millionaire uncle, whatever the case may be, like, you know, if You need to establish confidence and trust, and people will trust you, and that's how your doors open sometimes.
Yeah.
It's not all butterflies and rainbows, and you know, I made $500,000 on AMC overnight, you know?
Yeah, that'd be nice.
I mean, some people, great, that happened to you. God bless you, but you know, it's not all like that. So yeah, man, I've watched I basically watched every single episode you put out on YouTube so far. So I'm happy to be here and, you know, to give a little bit of my advice and my opinion on some stuff and hopefully help someone. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're here for, right?
Yeah.
Help someone who may be confused or just, you know, wants to learn. If they're on this video, they're already doing something right because they're learning, right?
Yeah, trying to better yourself. I mean, and honestly, that's the same thing for me. You know, like, I don't do these videos to like kind of like impose like my opinions or my beliefs on anybody. It's just I feel like, you know, I'm able to share now things that help me out, and at the same time, it honestly like makes me like even more eager to learn, because the more I want to teach people, the more I actually want to learn, because I don't want to be leading people, you know, the wrong way. So
correct.
So it helps me out, and hopefully, you know, I could help somebody out. But yeah, man, thank you for the talk, for the
absolutely, man.
Questions.
Absolutely, man. This is
a little different.
Yeah, it's definitely a little different than our conversations in the past, but you know, this is where we're going. Luckily, you know, things are working out for us, and who knows? Maybe in a year from now, we'll do another podcast. Probably not in New Jersey, to be honest with you.
Hopefully not in New Jersey.
Hopefully not in New Jersey. I'm trying to see some palm trees instead of a fireplace because it's freezing right now. So we'll see what's up.
Yeah, that's it, man.
Cool.
And, thank you for coming.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna see you guys in the next one.
Yes, sir.